Hi, I'm Stacey Pingree, founder of Radiant Financial Group and the Legacy Wealth Podcast. This is a place where we talk about and listen to stories from legacy wealth builders, and they come from all walks of life and all their paths are always different. So I think that's what makes it so exciting for us. But as you all know now, anybody who's been here before, you know I'm super passionate about legacy wealth creation and the journey that it takes us on to get there. Really, I really believe that legacy is not about what you leave behind, it's what you leave within. And so today I'm super excited to have Marign McCarthy with us. She is, we're going to hear her story of really, I think what's so exciting about Marign is we met the first time in 2018. She, since that time, turned around and without much communication with me, built a $5 million real estate portfolio. And I that to me is, and become a top tier real estate agent as well. She does it all through really analyzing market, really being insightful about the market and analyzing and being very data driven. So I am really excited today to talk about her strategies and share it with you. So I'm introducing Marign McCarthy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I first, thanks for being here, of course, because I think that is such a cool part of the story that you and I talked. I mean, you referred to me from Dan, our good friend, mutual good friend, and it was just like, hey, you should call Stacey and see, I don't know, talk to her.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation that I remember. I remember the conversation, and then I just did not hear from you for 5 years.
Yep.
And it's one of the coolest. I think when we reconnected here 6 months ago or so, it was one of the coolest stories I could have imagined, that you just went away, put your head down, went to work, and here you are now, with a pretty incredible real estate portfolio. The founder of K&M, both K&M Market Investments, which is for your investor clients, right?
Right, correct.
Company, and then also McCarthy Ventures, which is your own portfolio properties. I know that I want you to talk about all that, but I'm going to just kind of start it out with a quick overview, though. You, in addition to building this substantial, rental portfolio, because you do have holds, you've held property, you've flipped dozens of homes, right? And you partnered with investors and really been involved in every stage of growth. And you've closed over $250 million in single family, residential property, which is huge. But I love your, I love that you're also passionate, like I am, about, when we reconnected here, it was this durable wealth, you really are passionate about building sustainable, durable wealth. It just, you want it to be right. You want it to fit an investor's portfolio values, and you want it to be right with data. And so I can't wait to dig into this today.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind, I would love for you to tell a little bit about just getting started and kind of how you got here. Give us a little background.
Sure. Yeah. I got started during the Great Recession. It's a wonderful time to get into real estate. But it definitely, I think it was a blessing for me, especially for my type of personality, to get in when I did. I was with a high volume team, and we were doing lots of transactions per year, and I was the lead listing agent. So I had hundreds and hundreds of conversations that were heart-wrenching. And people were trying to get out of predatory loans. They were very upside down on their homes. It was a very, very difficult time.
Yeah.
And so my intro into real estate was really more heartache. And, coming out of that, you're overly careful and you really analyze absolutely everything. And I was kind of looking around in a lot of environments, and I am just naturally not a salesy person. Not at all. If I'm in a room with a bunch of real estate people, I always feel like an outsider. And I kind of figured out shortly thereafter that there was a way to build wealth, to stay in real estate, but to do it differently. And that wasn't necessarily deal after deal. For me, at that time, that wasn't high volume. That was, I'm going to earn the trust of people. I'm not going to, it's going to be long-term wealth. It's going to be strategy driven, and it's going to be data driven. So it's not get someone in the door, try and turn and burn them.
Yeah.
Not at all. So for myself, I did not do this on purpose. I didn't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to create this portfolio and people are going to see what's going on and I'm going to build a reputation. That's not at all what happened. There's a heavy, heavy amount of luck that went into it. But I got into looking into construction. I stopped everything I was doing. I had left that high volume team, and I got to know as much as I could about construction over the course of a year. And then I branched out. I did my first flip. It went very, very well, and it was off to the races after that. I bought in a very short period my next two or three holds within 3 months after that. And that just continued to grow and grow and grow. And by the time I called you in 2018, which, by the way, never left my mind. We had, you're always so open. And we had a call that kind of said to me, this isn't quite the right time for me. I needed to dedicate 100% of my time to what I wanted to do with leveraging the portfolio at that time. And there was a few avenues I still had to go down, which were very exciting. But I really was able to, not only did my data speak for itself, not only did the performance speak for itself, I got to a place where I said, this is speaking to me. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And it wasn't, hey, I need to make X amount of dollars or I need to do X amount of deals. I want to help myself and all the people around me grow and grow and grow. And so my partner and I really believe that when things are good, when rising tides raise all ships, that type of thing. So our whole thing is definitely about a win-win, whether that be as a landlord, as a realtor, as that is. And I think a lot of people, when they think of investments, they think of ruthless.
Yeah.
You think of slummy, you think of scummy, and that's not at all the case. You can absolutely do something that has a profound impact on people's life and on your own life.
Yeah.
So.
I love that so much because, it speaks to me. And I guess sometimes I take that for granted. I take for granted what the conception of like the landlord looks like, because it's just never been a way. I mean, we've never built it that way. We didn't build ours that way. And I just take that for granted, that mentality in some cases. So I love that you said that and brought that up. I think, that's one of the big reasons that when you and I connected again, you're like, I just want to make sure. We also went through that, as a lender, I went through that.
Oh yeah.
The Great Recession, as you called it too. And I think, talk about becoming so cautious, right? Becoming so cautious, becoming so understanding. We've been in many situations where we've done a seller carry back to a person that couldn't buy quite yet, but we just carried, just to help somebody get back into a family home, so there's just so many opportunities to help once you put yourself in a position to be a helper.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's what I find about it. So what did you think about, as you started delving into construction? I like that. What did you think about the construction world as you started getting into that?
I come from a family that, changing a light bulb is quite a task in my family. So it's very interesting. I did not expect to like it so much. I really, I'm not handy. Tying shoes is not easy for me, that type of thing. Oh, gosh. But it was just such, I think by nature, I'm a worrier. And so getting to know even a basic amount about electric, getting to know a basic amount about if you see a crack in a wall, how serious is that? If you see this or that, it gives you a huge degree of comfort as an individual. But then after year after year, after inspection, the more you see how houses work and the systems behind a house, it becomes a lot easier and you become a much better agent for someone. But on a personal level, I just stopped worrying so much. Yeah. So that was a big part of the construction for me. But it's very hard, when you buy your first home, when you see what that's like, when you buy your first rental, that first time that the AC goes out, something like that. And just, once you weather a few things like that, it becomes a lot easier. But certainly learning how things work rather than, every time an alarm goes off, absolutely losing your mind. Yeah. That was pivotal. I think if I had raised capital and just gone in and done my own first flip, I think that would have been to my detriment.
Right. Absolutely. Sure. Just because it can be really alarming.
Yeah.
You built, so then, I love this. We're getting into this like the more I hear you speaking, the more I remember, just recall like all of our conversations about how much you've self-taught. You've been really, you didn't have a background in this. You didn't really have you didn't have a family in real estate. You didn't come out of, from our conversations, you didn't come out of a real estate background.
No.
So you've been really self-taught, which I think is also, this is one of those industries, and listening to you also, like, I do want to hear a little bit more about the volume, but, all those appointments you made, all those listings you'd go on, all the conversations you'd have, and again, heartfelt conversations, but, learning along the way, taking that information and learning along the way and processing it, and saying, okay, these are the mistakes that this is what I need to be watching for going forward. And this is how that's how you learn.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you learn. You make mistakes and get up again and, don't make the next mistake.
Sure.
Or learn from somebody else's if it's even better, right? If you can.
Sure.
I love the idea that you were a D1 athlete. And I wanted to kind of go back to even before that, because I love this concept of self-taught, but D1 athlete, volleyball, full ride scholarship, right?
Yeah.
And we already, I don't think I need to tell anybody watching or listening what it takes to become an athlete, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that kind of grit and drive and, performance, what's required of you, as an athlete in college. But I'd love to hear how you pivoted out of that and tell your story about that a little bit.
Sure. I have a bit of a different take on it, but I am definitely a competitive person. There is no doubt about it. I was born lucky in that way. And obviously height helps for the sport that I chose. But for me,
volleyball, for those that don't know.
Yeah, for volleyball.
Don't guess basketball.
Yeah,
it's
not
volleyball.
basketball.
Yeah. It's a volleyball house right
yes.
here. Yeah.
I truly did love volleyball deeply when I was young. It was a huge part of my social life growing up, all of those types of things, and it served me really well academically. I was also very competitive. I'm competitive in a lot of ways in my life, but I got to a place as a teenager where I didn't love volleyball as much, but you see things through to the end.
Yeah,
and I was determined to go to college for it. And at 15, I committed to college, as I've told you.
Man.
And by the
15.
time very, very young, I hadn't even been to the state that I chose to go to college in. And so by the time I was at college, I knew I had already bigger goals outside of volleyball. I wanted to continue to see it through. Obviously I had the scholarship. But I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to be bilingual. There were all sorts of things that were going on top of that. And at a certain point, I found volleyball was no longer serving me. It really wasn't. It was kind of not really the means to the end that I was hoping it would be. So at a certain point, I pivoted and I said, I'm going to go to Arizona State, because at that time, just to be candid, that's where people smiled. There was sunshine again.
Yeah.
And I transferred, and sure enough, I double majored. I got the degree in Spanish. I ended up going to Spain. I ended up doing all of those things. But a challenge with that was, in my mind, I still say I quit volleyball, but I didn't really quit volleyball.
Yeah.
And I felt that way. I've struggled with that a few times in my life, when you get to a place where you say, maybe my idea of achievement isn't a 4-year letter, or it isn't X or Y. Leaving the high volume team I did earlier on in my career was also hard to do, because that felt like quote unquote quitting. But at the end of the day, my goal had completely shifted.
Yeah.
I was now helping serve someone else. So that's when I quit, quote unquote, quit there and got into construction. And it is the best move I ever made. Yeah. So there's something to being competitive, and then there's something to when your soul says, we're on to something else. Let's go conquer another mountain.
Yep.
So
it goes right into one of my, I tell my team all the time, like, I wish you could see, the rearview mirror is so different than looking out the windshield, right? Because you don't, the dots connect. When you look through the rearview mirror, you're like, oh wow, these dots all connected. But when you're looking out the window, you don't know where the next dot is going to take you.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking out the windshield, so to me, that is like the perfect example, of these things were stepping stones for you to the life you have today.
Yeah.
And where you are today, and like, that's what gets me so excited in this podcast. It gets me excited because where you're going, that just the idea that we're here together today, in this, in this moment, and that where you're headed tomorrow, I get to be a part of, that to me is so exciting, because I think this is the legacy part, like that's it. You're already doing it. You're making an impact on people, with people, within people. And as you go and you said it best. I mean, you wanted to impact your own people, your family, your friends, the investors that trust you in you, to help guide them in the decisions they make for their own portfolios, their own strategy, and their own life. Because again, it's not just portfolio, and I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about impact, right? And so, anyway, I love that. I think that's just an awesome way to, your hindsight in that is great, right? And I mean, it's hard to walk away from something.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something you still struggle with, and you'll think, oh, what if I had done this, or what if this? And some people think I need to have something concrete to say I achieved this. But there's also certain timelines. When I say luck, I also mean I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I met the right person. And if you're bold enough to say, I'm going to jump, I'm going to jump. And I've done that twice in my life, and it really served me well.
Yeah.
So
See, I love it. That's amazing. Okay, we got to talk about this. $5 million in 5 years. So, I mean, the power of self-education, right? And like having a strategy. So when did you really find, because you said, I didn't really even know, it's not like you had a plan. You just were like, hey, I did this first. I bought a house, in a time when there were deals to be had, right? There were a lot of deals out there, but you really did like a little combination of being in the right place, the right time, luck, but also strategy. Like, hey, I'm going to be conservative about this. I'm going to do this the right way. You started that first flip. How did that just kind of launch you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Again, that's going to be luck for for me. Literally, I knew I wanted to do this, and I'm being very literal. The day I got my first LLC approved was the day my first wholesaler offered me a deal, and I took that one, and that was my first flip. That is very, very lucky, and I still talk to that guy to this day. He's a wonderful guy, but there are certain things that way. And that first flip kind of established a little bit of a reputation. I learned a lot of things with the right and wrong way to do things when it comes to construction.
Yep.
And I went through a couple different general contractors on that one, the power of paying on time, all of those small things that you learn. But that started the ball rolling with building a reputation as a person of their word. Yeah. And so as I then started to gain a little traction with people recognizing either my name or having a reputation. And I would get calls about deals. Hey, this one's got a sewer problem. This one's got this. I don't think it should go on market. What do you think about this one? And slowly but surely, I just started flipping. And I will say I am not an excellent flipper. That is not my bread and butter. I am not a natural designer. As we know, in the mid 2010s up to 2020, flipping wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
But you had to be consistent, and it was all about the buy.
Yeah.
And when you're very analytical and very data driven, that's very easy. You can say, here's X and here's what I'm going to buy it for. So the flips helped. I kept generating all that capital. I would keep it in with the company and continue to grow and grow. The challenge became, as an agent, my partner and I were doing a lot of deals. We became high volume for investors almost exclusively. And so this thing that I was building on the side, which was 90% of my passion, 90% of my thoughts. If I'm in the shower, if I'm waking up in the middle of the night, that's what I'm thinking about. But I'm spending, a lot of my effort was going into being a real estate agent. And at some point, that needed to hit a breaking point. And that was about when I called you. Yeah. So that would be after hitting, our portfolio is now worth $5 million, but it's going to take a lot more of my time and a lot more of my energy to continue to build it. And this is a very, very exciting time. No one would have guessed the last 5 years would have looked the way that it did. Yeah. But every market has very exciting opportunities if you look at it the right way and if you're smart about the buy. So that's kind of how I got here. In some ways, I feel like the reluctant realtor. I've gotten very lucky to be in these high volume situations, and I don't feel like I'm a salesperson, but I've had a few opportunities where that pouncing on those opportunities and just, nose to the grindstone for 3 or 4 years and saving and getting that capital to build for itself and then using it and investing in yourself really helped me. Yeah. So
I love it. Okay. So, you're obviously really, I've been talking to you, so I kind of know what you see as what's coming up, but love to get your take on that, because I think right now, so we're in, mid-year 25, and I know on the mortgage side, we're basically still seeing rates in the high sixes, so, excuse me, in conventional financing. So, and for investors, mid sevens, right? Realistically. So it's like, what do you see? You've done a lot of this without, because you've had a partner. You did figure out how to put a partnership together where you could generate your own capital and then partner with somebody who also had capital. So you guys haven't done a ton of lending, right? You've been able to go out and acquire properties, or you've used private lending, I know in some instances, but for
Right.
the most part, you're conservative. So you like to go out and get these things. You're going to have to lean into lending a little bit, right?
For
To
sure.
do for some leverage, which we've also talked about, which I know you're working on. What do you see coming? Tell me, give me your, without like, no one's going to hold you to it, but well, maybe, but what do you see coming? Because I know you and I both have a really great, we're excited.
Yes.
I don't want to hold back. Like we are excited. So tell me but knowing that you're data driven, it might, instead of just coming off like emotion and excitement from me, give us some of your thoughts on that. I know everyone would love to hear it.
I don't want to come off as endlessly optimistic, and I also don't want to pretend that this doesn't take time. I know it's been since 2022 that we've been kind of in this market, and in 2023 I certainly was also saying this can't last forever with rates.
Yep.
So there's a realistic aspect to it. As for us using leverage in the future and what's going to be happening for us, what's in my future is you, for sure. I'm going to be leaning on
like
you.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are creative avenues out there, whether that be private money, whether that be hard money lending, whether that be DSCR, non-conventional loans, non-QM. For us, it all comes back to what is my passion, and that is the acquisition. And the acquisition, I always say, can be a win-win for both scenarios. That is not a ruthless situation, but in every market, there's going to be opportunity. And right now, if you look nationwide, if you look at Phoenix, I think Q3, Q4 of this year are going to be very exciting for someone who's looking to invest in Phoenix. There's just no question about it. You're already seeing that start to happen. And that doesn't always mean for everyone a lower sales price. It really doesn't.
Right.
You saw that with more concessions. You saw that with people willing to put in some extra stuff. So especially for people looking to invest or people that are a bit more open-minded in what they're looking to buy, there's actually more opportunity than there was. I was terrified to buy, and I didn't in 2021 and 2022 because you had people selling the farm. Sure, no appraisal, no this, no that.
Yeah.
That to me is far scarier than where we are right now.
Couldn't agree more.
So
yeah. Absolutely couldn't agree more. Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing deals come around, I mean, I know us, like from on the private lending side on the deal desk, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had a situation where we have seasoned investors that they just happened to, the best scenario for their client was a cash deal because they want to get out of here and move to be with their grandkids. And it was a $260,000, basically a wholesale deal, $260,000 purchase on a property that's probably worth $340,000, $350,000. But it needs some work and they don't want to do it. They just want the cash thing, get out of here.
Win-win.
So win-win for everybody. So it's like, we are seeing those deals come around. And even that price band I just said, like 250, 260, like where have those been?
I know.
So, anybody who wants to get in and get started, like those are the entry level price points on invest,
Absolutely.
to get going.
Sure.
I know that hasn't been really you've kind of had a wider range than that and haven't started out in that really low end range. But,
right.
we talked about a little bit about entity structuring. You mentioned like you formed your first LLC. How much have you been and I know it's been self-taught, but I know you have great mentors. I've connected with your CPA before. You've got really great people around you giving you great advice. But as far as that goes, how much did you sort of start to really dig into the tax strategy components and the because I know you're passionate about that too, but have you used tax strategies? Have you used, with entity structuring? I mean, what else have you done to sort of, I guess, again, it goes back to self-teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you asked that because people say, like, if you're looking to get into this and you're looking to syndicate deals, if you're looking to do that, you should have the deal first. Well, that's not realistic in single family. We move way too quick for that.
Yeah.
So I did too much up front. There was more than one lawyer involved. There was all sorts of things before the one flip.
Yeah.
And so what I really did was I basically got on the phone and I called 10, 15 different people and said, what would you do if you were in my shoes and who would you talk to? And I really did. I still do that to this day, hence me calling you again. You call as many people as you want, but by nature, I am just one of those people who studies. I study all the time. I wake up and I read our business journal, our local news, the national news. That's truly my passion. And that helps frame my own confidence in our market and what I see happening, those types of things. But as for, the tax stuff, things like that can get pretty heavy. I was very early on overly careful about those things. I got a financial advisor involved, and I did get a CPA involved. Luckily, my mom was also a CPA, to be fair. So
Good.
some of that was in back in my head. But something that is really, really valuable to me is you can ask 3-5 different other investors, or even just people you know that own multiple rentals, and you will get 3 to 5 different, very different answers. But for me, my gut would always lean towards the ones that were far more conservative and risk averse, and just, I want to be able to sleep at night, and it's not whether or not I make an extra $200 that month. That really doesn't save me anything. I need to make sure that, my family my house would be safe. All those things would be safe if something were to happen at a house. So, but some people, they are far more driven by that ultimate number. So that comes down to the person.
Yeah. No, and that's very interesting. I love that about you, because I know that about you. You're much more interested in, being the person that, we built our business off of referrals. I know you have too, right? It's not like I'm not looking for transactional business. We're looking for, the next person say, oh, that Stacy's really good at that. Call her,
Right.
And I think having that kind of integrity, having the kind of like the thought process that you have around being thoughtful, being considerate about everyone's their strategy, their financial goals. It's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
And you told me once you definitely burned up the entire commission just finding somebody the right property, because they had very specific goals, and you were like, it was like a year-long process of trying to find them the right house, but damn it, you did it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's really important, especially in a market like this, because there are going to be deals flying around, you know, and there's going to be things that somebody doesn't know how to watch out for, and whether that's structural in the property, whether that's just again how to buy it, like what the comps really say, what's happening in that neighborhood, in that market. There's so much development going on right now. I'm in the West Valley, right? So it's like just far as the eye can see, more concrete tilt-ups and just tons of, so understanding what's coming in development wise and what those jobs are going to be. I love that you're just on top of all that data.
No, absolutely. Especially if you think of yourself as an agent, or not as a steward of financial health. You are doing someone a disservice by either high pressure or whatever that may be. And that becomes a long-term relationship. Same thing with viewing things for yourself with investments. If, like in 2021, 2022, things seemed like the temperature was a lot too hot, everyone was in there, you have to kind of continue to have those conversations, continue to be looking at everything. It's unfortunately, this is one of those conversations that you're having where it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick commission check. It's not a quick this. The reason this is durable wealth that you're building is because it takes year after year, day after day. You are showing up and you are doing this type of work. It becomes easier, especially if you love it, then it's really, really easy.
Yeah.
And as long as you stay in love with it. But it becomes simple at that point.
Yeah. So back to this thing about the market coming up. I don't know if you how do you feel about, I know you're excited about coming into this, like what could be an investment opportunity market here. But what do you see? What do you think is on a little bit bigger scale? Why Arizona? What drives it? What's driving that right now?
Oh, no question. There's a lot of economic factors. You can look at a lot of different areas. Right now, the Northeast is picked back up, whereas a couple years ago, you're talking about the Sun Belt. You can talk about all those things. Arizona, you have the population growth. There is no question there. Mm-hmm. You have the fact that it's a vacation destination, so it's already its own PR. It's got all that going on. But especially if you look in the last 10 years, you're talking about a very versatile economic market, and you are talking about job opportunity after job opportunity. Everything from semiconductor plants, to Facebook, whatever. You could literally go and go and go
Amazon
and go. And you're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, and it's like every other week we're reading about the next one and the next one. This is not a blip. You also have, you're very close to California. You have the climate. There's about 1 billion different reasons why Arizona works.
No major natural disasters except for this haboob thing we get every once in a while.
Yeah, and those are usually just fun to talk about at the grocery store.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, so I'm with you on it, but I want to hear your take on that.
Yeah. There's the job opportunities. You cannot beat it. I've told you this before. I am tempted by secondary or tertiary markets. I love to go visit them, especially when you talk about short-term rentals. There's a draw to them, but that's an emotional draw. There's no question. And it's hard when your one economic driver of one town is X. That is not the case when you're talking about here. And it used to be the case that only certain parts of the valley had certain things. Now that's also not the case.
It's not true.
Yeah.
It was like the East Valley just exploded, from first it was Scottsdale, then it was Gilbert and Chandler. And now it's just, I feel like I'm just sitting in, I just watching change right in front of my eyes. It's just development after development. And you know, it's pretty insane.
The West Valley, the North Valley, they're like the new ones at the dance, but everyone's at the dance.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. The Northwest too. What, do you think that there is a misconception out there? Talking about like how, the integrity of when you sit down with somebody, do you fight through like a misconception about how easy this is or how difficult it is? Is it maybe even a better question? I think that's another thing you and I've talked about is there a misconception for people to think it's either hard or easy to get into this business?
That's an interesting question because I think the time really matters. And there's just no question access to capital would also matter there, right? I have seen a lot of people try and fail to do what we used to call like lipstick on a pig type of cosmetic flip. I do think there's a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of that are from people just outside. And that comes from everything from buy and holds with the landlords, how tenants are, everyone, unless you're actually in this and you see there's so much that goes on with just human drivers. Like there's just so many things that are out of your control and certain situations that people forget that whether it's the construction crew, whether it's the investor, whether it's the tenant, these are all humans, generally speaking, trying to do good. Yeah. And, but you are talking about, at the end of the day, especially in investments, you are talking about people's homes, where people live. Yep. And so it can feel callous, it can feel cold when you refer to it as an investment. However, especially in the Valley, when you're talking about single family homes versus apartments, condos, whatever it may be, those are at a premium. We only have so much space. And so there's always going to be people that need to rent, and there's always going to be landlords who can do right by them. Yeah. And so that's the niche where I find that I operate really well. Whereas people will say, well, that's easy to do. Well, no, it's not easy to do because I have to make sure I do the right buy. I have to vet the tenant correctly. Yep. All those types of things. So I just think that overall the misconception is the callous nature of real estate investments when that's not really the case. Yeah.
And it sounds like, what you're telling me is you really take also not only an analytical data-driven approach, but also a very turnkey approach, because you just said, you're looking at the tenants. Like, what's the quality of tenant going to look like? Are you actually getting the tenant in a lot of cases?
Not anymore, but I was.
Okay, you were. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, in the back beginning. Yeah, because that is. You're right, and we talk about that all the time. How many avenues there are in this business. How exciting that is to be in the real estate profession, if you will. Yeah. Because there's just a million different things to do. Right. From construction, from the lending aspect and all of that, to the property management and construction and rehab and all that, to commercial and development and it's so wide and deep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you see? If you're going to continue, is your goal right now? Do you see yourself, can you tell me where you're headed in the next 5 years? Let's go 5 years out now.
Oh, I am off to the races. I feel like I've been waiting for this opportunity. I truly can't tell you how excited I am to get up every day right now. We all have lulls. We all have, times of motivation. I am the most excited that I have been in a long time. And some of that comes from confidence and, 10 years of doing investments and 15 years, whatever. But right now, the buy is what fuels buy and holds for me. And I am about to purchase quite a few. So
love it, man.
That's what I'm going to be doing. And then once those are stabilized, that's the leverage component and rinse and repeat. But this is absolutely, there's no question what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Okay. And I want to ask you this too, because I want to, I see myself as more and more, I align with financial advisors all the time in the traditional sense of, what do they call real estate? They call real estate the alternate investment.
Yeah.
Drives me insane. It's like you said it a minute ago, everybody needs a place to live,
Yeah.
whether they rent it or own it. And so it's a very big part of the tradition of the traditional financial strategy, right? Like the wealth strategy to me.
Yeah.
And so to exclude it from like regular, I understand the financial advisors, they work from Wall Street and more, I guess, what they consider mainstream investments.
Yeah, exactly.
But I always say we're wealth advisors, right? Like I'm still a wealth advisor just in the real estate space. And I love it when I meet a colleague in the business, like you, that also sees herself as a wealth advisor. And I think that's, do you consider yourself?
Yeah, to some degree, for sure. If you're going to say that you're a fiduciary,
you are.
Then
Yeah,
you are. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. You are. I'm just gonna tell you are.
Yeah.
Because even if, and you said it best, like confidence over time, and then timing.
Yeah.
Right? Like market timing and knowing when those opportunities are coming. So I think you're 100% right. I think we're hitting that stride right now. And so your goal is to now you're gonna leverage. You're gonna go at it with raise capital. You're going to. With your investors.
Yes.
You're also going to go at it with some leveraged opportunities, be able to leverage those existing properties. What's the goal? Give me the goal. I want to hold you to it. It's going to be on like a video and audio recording here. So no. What's the goal?
If you were to say, I like in the immediate future, I know that before the end of the year, I will have stabilized 3 more houses. I know for a fact I will have done that. I know I want to double the size of the portfolio.
Okay.
And if I can do that in 3 years, that would be fantastic.
Yep.
That would be that goal. As for the ultimate goal, my partner Eric and I would definitely be running this together. And this would be our full-time job for the rest of our lives. But what does that look like? I've told you this before. A lot of people ask me how many doors. What is?
Yeah,
well,
that's a big question.
That's square peg round hole to me, because then I am making deals fit when they don't fit, and time is such an important component to all of this, especially if you value the correct buy. So, what does the size of that portfolio look like? I'm truly not sure.
Yeah.
But I've evolved so much over the past couple of years. I would imagine it's probably bigger than I could dream right now.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah.
So,
and we talked about this, like you don't necessarily want to be a fund manager because you're maybe, right? Maybe it looks like a syndication. Maybe it looks like a fund, but I can't wait to have you back in like 1 year.
I would love to come back in 1 year. I really would.
Seriously, I think it's going to be so much fun to watch and see how this all transpires, because somebody with your drive right now in this business and this market is just like, there's just a lot of opportunity. It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. And I'm so glad you answered the phone when I called again, because I'm going to need you.
Well,
so
I do try to answer the phone. We're not shooting a podcast, I know we're getting to our this has been so fun. Thank you so much. You can tell that I like really geek out over somebody with the same passion that I have. But I leave with one question now, and that is, if I believe that a legacy is lived, right? And so what's the next chapter of your legacy look like? Because not just financially. We just talked financial. I mean, what does that mean? Are you pulling your family in on this, you and Eric, and then you're pulling in? Like, what does that look like for you? What's the legacy lived look like for you?
I think I've mentioned before, I struggle with that. Eric and I don't have kids, and I've always thought legacy, I'm a very literal person. And so I never thought outside the box of that, legacy can mean something else.
Yeah.
I do have a niece that's very important to me. And yes, my family is involved. My mom is the bookkeeper, that type of thing. But as for, that is kind of a challenge for me with the goal, is because purpose. What is the purpose of this? Is this something that when I'm no longer here, does it continue to exist? And what does that look like? Is that something my niece would want to be involved in? Well, she's too young for me to really ask her that at this point. But how could I possibly try to figure out how many lives I impacted positively? I'm really not sure. That's difficult. But I know that.
But that's it though. You just said it. I think that's like what you're thinking about. How many lives could you impact positively?
Yeah.
You're right.
I think at the end of the day, there's numerous tenants that have moved out of our homes that would still speak to me, that I still speak to for sure. It will be a kind of a group, a community, a feeling of I did right by what I did.
Yep.
And I don't know how to measure that, but maybe AI will have figured that out in the near future.
You just put it all into ChatGPT.
Yeah,
and
it'll
say,
tell
what
me.
did this mean?
Yeah. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's an amazing. I think that's a perfect answer.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, obviously it's your answer. So
it's also vague, but
yeah. well, I mean, that's why we have to have you back in a year so we can,
sure.
Yeah.
I'll sharpen it up.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Yeah,
thank you.
I love having you. I love this story. I love your story. I think that anybody who is interested in, again, continuing to or learning how to build their own wealth portfolio, they need to call Marign. She's incredible, and you are going to give them, whether you like the advice or not, you're going to get the right advice, right?
That's for sure. I am blunt.
Yeah. So anyway, but you can get in touch with her. We'll have all of her details and contact information in the show notes below. We loved having you today. Thank you so much for joining us.